Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our go-to meeting on developing the training plan. We're happy to see that we have quite a few folks that have joined the meeting already, and I'm anticipating that we'll have more as we go along. I'd just like to remind everybody, excuse me, to please keep your phone muted, and if you have any questions or comments that you want to make in the left-hand corner of your page, you should see a chat box, so you can enter any questions there, and we'll be sure to respond to them as we go along. Okay. We're going to go to the next. There we go. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? We're going to move it. All right. So just going to start with some points to remember. So these are the things kind of we want to share with you. We're going to go over the training plan. It's in an Excel document, and we're going to share that document with you in this PowerPoint, and then we'll be forwarding that document to everybody in an email, either this afternoon or first thing tomorrow. We're going to share training calendars and dates for MARC, Head Start's training that we will provide, as well as training that's offered through the Family Conservancy and Government Training Institute. We're going to talk a little bit about, more specifically about requesting continuing education funds, particularly for Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs. And then for Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs, a little bit of specific information about using your training dollars. Okay, so let's get started. Oh, we do. Is anyone else hearing a sketchy connection?
All right. Can someone else let us know if you're hearing okay? Ah, Myla says no.
I can hear just fine.
All right.
Okay, good deal.
Okay.
Well, I'm
so
sorry. Who was that who said that they were hearing it?
Katie.
Katie, I'm sorry. It must be your connection. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to talk just a little bit. I want to give you some context. For those of you who have been doing this a while, that this will be repeat information. I'm sorry, but I just want everybody to be able to start from the same page. So I just want all of us to get that we know Head Start has high expectations for professional development. There's many specific requirements for training, along with a general requirement that all staff are required to have those 15 clock hours per year. So to support programs in meeting the high standards for professional development, the Office of Head Start provides all grantees with funds to support program operations, and then there's a separate pot of money to support professional development, which they call training funds. And these funds can only be used for training-related costs. So you cannot use those funds, or we cannot use those funds for anything related to program operations. They're strictly for professional development and training. And because of that, then all grantees must submit a training plan along with their annual grant application every year. And that training plan is supposed to outline how the grantee will ensure that all staff receive the required training, and how the planned training will support the accomplishment of program goals and objectives. So because of our structure, MARC Tier 3 direct service provider contracts, those contracts include training funds for the Tier 3 programs to use directly to support their program and meeting those requirements. And then for funds to support Tier 1 and Tier 2 agencies in meeting these requirements are included in MARC's budget. And then included in the training documents that you'll receive tomorrow, Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs will be provided the maximum dollars available for their program. So you'll have a sense of what dollar amount you're working with when you're trying to put your budget together and to put your plan together. This will make more sense as we start looking at the document itself. In addition, all Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs have been provided some discretionary training funds. That's $500 per classroom or per home-based specialist that comes with their individual contract, and these funds can be used to support program-specific costs related to training. And what we will provide you, along with all the documents that we're going to send you tomorrow, a detailed procedure for the use of these funds, because this year I know there's been a little bit of questions about how do I access these funds, how does that look on my invoice, so we'll give you some specific instructions in writing. What are you doing? Okay, all right, so we're ready to go to the next slide. Okay. All right, so where to start? These are questions to ask yourself when developing your annual training plan. You want to look at your self-assessment. What areas require additional training? Oftentimes, when you're identifying areas that need to be strengthened, one of the strategies you may identify is that there's additional training needed. So that's something to consider when you're putting your plan together. You want to look at professional development plans. So individual staff professional development plans may indicate that there's a training need or an interest. And if that's the case, then you want to take that into consideration as you're developing your plan. And then you also want to think about larger initiatives. So at the national or local level, are there larger initiatives that require additional training? Are these things that you want to tap into? You should also follow up with content area coordinators if you're a tier, particularly for tier 3 programs. And I know directors include those folks when they're thinking about putting their training plan together. But tier 1 and tier 2 programs can also talk with our FCE ERC coordinators and obviously their education coordinator coaches and ask for their input when they want to put together those training plans to help them identify appropriate training opportunities. Okay, so we wanted to give you an idea of the kinds of resources that are available to meet your training needs. MARC will provide some content-specific training annually, and again, we're going to provide you a list of training that's going to be offered by MARC along with dates, and those will also be on the MARC calendar. And then the Family Conservancy will also be providing training to meet Head Start requirements, and you'll have a list of the training TFC is offering, and we're going to look at that today, as well as that will be on the MARC. I'm not sure at this point, honestly, if we'll put that on the calendar or if we'll just put that on our website, because it's a lot, and I'm afraid if we put it all on our calendar, that calendar is going to get a little crazy. And then if you have a specific need, TFC will work with you to develop something more individualized. If there's the trainings that they are offering, the dates or the times don't work for you all, they're going to try to really be flexible to support your needs. And then there's also the MARC Government Training Institute, which provides a comprehensive array of training and leadership development opportunities each year. And that information is located on the MARC website under the Government tab. Then there's possible sole source training. For instance, if you were wanting to have a DECA training that's only provided by a certified trainer on a particular topic, that's also an option. And then conferences, there's local, regional, and national conferences that may offer training that meets your needs. And then I also want to remind folks that there's a lot of free training on the Head Start Early Childhood Learning and Knowledge Center, or ECLKC website. They have lots of webinars, and most of the stuff on there is free. So don't forget about that. That's a really good resource, especially if you just have something that one person or a couple of people need to view. Okay, so now we're just going to go through and share the training that is going to be available next year, and that's starting with the August 9th pre-service at Stony Creek. And we will be giving you more specific information on the things that are included in that pre-service training in the next, well, probably in the next couple of weeks. So that hopefully that will help you as you put your training plan together. And then, of course, we have the conscious discipline training that is, wait a minute. Oh, what is that?
This is a different one.
I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Conscious discipline coaching and training at MARC in the boardroom in March of 2020.
Okay.
That's something different. And I was thinking that was going to be the June one, right?
I don't know. It
Okay,
was on the list I got from Tracy, so.
from Tracy, okay, all right. Well, then there will be one in March, but of 2020, but I'm not sure. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so then here we go with, these are all the MARC provided training. So this is training that either our staff are doing or we're contracting with somebody to do, but I think it's mostly our staff providing those trainings. So I'm not going to read all of these off to you. And I meant to say at the very beginning that we are recording this, so this webinar will be available to you if you want to go back and look through it. And also, we will be giving you the list in a document that, like this PowerPoint, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We'll be giving that to you as well, so you can go back and refer to these dates. Okay. Now we're into, this is TFC training, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see they've got a lot of different dates for child abuse and neglect, CPR, and first aid. And Leanne did say that she was definitely open to providing other dates and times. If those don't work for you, you can contact her and she'll work with you. Jennifer has organized these so that they're kind of clustered in content area specific. So these are all the trauma related pieces. And then there's quite a bit of training offered for directors or folks in leadership or management positions that you might find useful. These are education-related trainings. And I thought I saw parent engagement and more education-related trainings.
Small stuff.
Okay, and then this is kind of all staff. So those the pre-service with a focus on wellness. That will take place on August 9th. And then this fall symposium that TFC puts on Saturday, October 5th. And then we are planning a spring seminar focused on cultural competency on Friday, March 6th in 2020. And so you can see that all the costs are there for those pieces as well. So that hopefully that will be helpful as you start putting your training plan together. I think I see a question out there. Will all these be approved through the open calendar for approved hours? Yes,
Yes.
They will. Were there any other questions other than that one?
You're welcome. Okay, that was it.
All righty, good deal. Okay, so that's just a real quick overview of the trainings that will be offered either through MARC or through TFC. And again, we'll be sharing this with you electronically. So
There's some sections also on staff that are needing to meet credentials. They've given us a price list for CBA a la carte type items for you, and also for the family development credential. So there's information on that in here. Okay, so now we're going to start looking at the document itself.
Okay, so I'm going to talk just a tiny bit, and then let me get to. Hang on, let's go back there for just a second, and let me find where I am on here. Yeah, but I don't think we do.
Oh, that's rather sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
There we go.
Okay, talk among yourselves for a moment. Okay, here we go. So on tab 1, you can go ahead and that's fine. This is really about agency priorities, and it should include things that are in addition to required trainings. And I suggest that you consider doing this last, even though it's the first tab. You may want to wait and fill this out after you've made sure that you've addressed all the required trainings that you need and that you have sufficient funds to cover all of those things. So I'm going to give you an example of what might go here. So the Office of Head Start has placed a high priority on responding to the I can't say this word for the life of me, opioid. I always mispronounce that. Crisis and the related needs of families. And your agency has identified a need to provide training for all staff to support positive interactions and outcomes. So that would be, on this tab, you would identify your professional development need or priority would be addressing the effects of the opioid crisis on the children and families that you serve, and making sure that your staff have the all of the things to support that. What does that say? Is there financial support for substitutes on the training during work week? Okay, we'll address that in a minute. Okay. So that's kind of your professional development need, and then so that will be what you put in column A, and then column B would be that in this instance, my example is that the director will attend the Office of Head Start conference in Washington, D.C., mitigating trauma resulting from substance abuse misuse. I just made this up. I don't know that there's such a conference. And an agency action plan will be developed using information gathered from this conference. And the hours are that it's a 2-day conference. And then column C would include the number of staff. So staff are going to attend, so you check that. You're not having any parents. The number of participants would be 1. And then if you have the dates of the conference, you would enter those there. And then if there's a cost, you would enter the cost for the conference. If you have both Head Start and Early Head Start in your program, then you would split the cost out based on your enrollment. So if you're, you would, the percent of Head Start and the percent of Early Head Start children that make up your total enrollment is how you would identify the costs for Head Start and Early Head Start. And then if there's no cost, obviously you're going to check no cost. I don't expect that you'll have a lot of things in this. I only think I put 4 or 5 rows on this page. But I did want to leave you the opportunity to put some things that maybe don't fall into the typical like required trainings or the classroom related or family engagement related, but that might be broader. Okay, so now we're on to tab number 2. And tab number 2 is for, I've lost my place there for a second. Yeah. Tab number 2 is for, sorry, I'm having a hard time reading my,
Required training.
yes, it's required training for all staff. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that none of the training on this tab counts towards the 15 hours of required classroom-related training for education staff. So these are just those health and safety related requirements that everybody has to have. And it is divided so that the first, the red rows identify which trainings are specific to staff who have regular contact with children and which are for those who do not have regular contact. So, what'd I do? Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, shoot.
There we go. Okay.
So just don't touch the wheel, just move there.
Don't touch the wheel. Okay. I won't touch the wheel. I'm going, this is like backwards. Okay. All right. So, sorry guys. I'm a rookie here. Okay. So, the first two rows are things that everybody has to have. That's for orientation and the child abuse and neglect. All staff within the first 3 months of their hire have to have those things. So in the second, I can't make this thing work. Yeah. Okay. So right here, we've put NA there because you don't need to check that one. That's I can't remember what that says. Returning staff, it's not going to be applicable for new staff.
Oh, it's orientation for new staff, so
Right.
It's not applicable to other staff.
Exactly. It's not applicable to returning staff because it's just orientation for new staff. Okay. And then I'm going to go down here, but I'm afraid
where did it go?
something up. Okay. All right. So this is for staff who have regular contact with children, and then going farther down, there's this one right here. is for staff and volunteers without regular contact with children. And then the people who are attending, we've just gone ahead and clicked staff there because that's required for all staff. Somehow or other, they have to have health and safety training, whether it's just the minimal ones, which are down towards the bottom, or all of these, which are for folks who have regular contact with children. Sorry, I'll try and do better as we move forward here. Okay, this next tab, number 3, is required training for education staff. Yes, I think I can actually read that one if I can just find it. So the Office of Head Start has identified specific training topics that must be included in training for education staff as part of a systematic approach to professional development designed to assist staff in acquiring or increasing their skills in the specific topics that are listed on this page. Some of these topics might be included in the annual pre-service, and others might be training provided by the Family Conservancy. Some topics, such as DRDP, will be provided by MARC. You'll see the list of training and training calendar for this information. Individual and group coaching will be used to provide follow-up only training. Oh gosh, okay, sorry about that. Individualized and group coaching will be used to provide follow-up to any training received, but should not be used as the sole source for any of these training topics. So in other words, when you're looking at a training topic and it says addressing challenging behaviors, we don't want to see coaching under the training details. While we know that coaches may work specifically with folks to support that isn't sufficient to be considered training. It needs to be a specific training that they're participating in that's focused on that. I hope that was clear. And then the training you include on this page, and possibly some included on the first tab, should amount to 15 annual clock hours. Can you go back a second? So when you're completing that second column where it says training details, the title, the activity, the facilitator, or the method of facilitation and the number of hours, please include all that information. And particularly the number of hours. That's going to help you as you start adding those up to make sure you are going to meet that requirement. And so a lot of these things may be things that are included in pre-service, and when we get you that information in the next few days, I think that will help as well. So I don't want you to feel like you have to, all of these trainings do not have to be provided every year, but on a regular basis, teachers need to be receiving support in these things. And those are the things as you're putting together the 15 hours that you should really focus on. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, these are training topics for family engagement. And again, all family advocates need to receive the minimum of 15 clock hours of professional development. And we don't have specific training topics identified, although the Office of Head Start does say that they need to receive training in best practices, and it should be targeted specifically to meet the needs of families related to the work that family advocates do. Some of that training will be provided through MARC, and you can see the list of training on the calendar for that information, and some of the training will be offered through TFC. And again, you can look at that, those calendars to look for specific training that would meet those needs. Okay. This next one is training that's required for parents. And this is something new. We haven't, in the past, we haven't really included this in our training plan, but my thought was that this would be helpful to you to make sure that you're planning to meet all these requirements, because as you can see, there's a lot of information that we are required to share with parents. So you might provide this training in many ways. And this is just intended to help you ensure that all the information and training required is included in your plan, and to help you plan in advance for this information and training. Parents may participate in training or be provided information in lots of ways. So you have parenting curriculum training that's provided by your program, and some of these things may be included in that. That very first row talks about parent education to promote child learning and development, providing research-based parenting curriculum. So if some of these other things down below are included in that, it's okay to say this is addressed in the parenting curriculum. Just make sure that's the case, that's part of the curriculum outline. You might provide some of this information during home visits when teachers go to meet with parents. You may have newsletters that provide this kind of information, or you may have specific parent activities where you're focused on a particular topic, and it's provided then. So those are all fine. We just want you to have a plan, and this will help you be intentional and plan ahead for those things. So that's pretty much it for that page.
Okay. Transportation.
Okay, and the next one is for programs that provide transportation, and we don't have very many of those anymore. And those of you who do, I think, are familiar with this. I don't think we have anybody new who's providing training transportation for the first time. And for Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs, I know that Pam Cabrick, our QA, the person who really focuses on these things, has worked with you to support either your transportation department, if it's a school district, or the agency that you contract with, to either provide some of this training or to make sure that they have access to it. And you can follow up with Pam if you have any questions about the details for this, but we just want to make sure, again, that we're planning ahead and being proactive. And in most cases, there's not any cost related to that connected with this training. And then Jennifer's going to talk a little bit about the continuing education for staff credentials. Oops.
Okay.
Where'd that go?
Okay, I just want to, so there is an 8th tab. I'm just going to talk about that for just a second. It will auto calculate, so you don't need to do anything with this tab. The others are already calculating into this. I just want you to be aware that it's there. Okay, so now I want to talk about requesting continuing education funds. If you are a Tier 1 or 2 program and you have staff that are seeking financial assistance.
You want to move this?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can. That's the question.
Okay, so we have 2 forms for doing that. The 8030A, I think I can do it from the top. The 8030A is for college coursework, and the 8030B is for people working on CDAs, and it could be for the training itself, the assessment, or even doing a renewal. And all of those forms are available on the MARC website under the Head Start tab. So this is a sample of the 8030A. When you have a staff member that is working on in college coursework, have them fill out how much it costs, what the course name is, and then have them sign this, and the director will sign this as well. We want to make sure that they understand that we want them to receive a grade of a C or above. If they need to repeat the class, we can only pay for it one time. So just want to make sure that they understand that agreement that we have with them. Form 8030B, this is the CDA form. So on this form, you can ask for an online study or the care course book format. You can tell us which type of CDA training they're doing. And then when also the same form will be used again when they're ready for their assessment or when they're ready to make their renewal. So I just look at this a little closer on what to do after you get the form filled out. We have some other documentation that we're looking for. We want to make sure that they have a current action plan or PDP that outlines the process of how they're going to meet the qualifications, as well as timelines. I think it's very helpful when you put a timeline, because that helps agree with your staff member that they're going to spend X amount of time on this and get it done by a certain time period. We've noticed that some in the online studies kind of, they'll do it for a little bit and then they kind of lose their steam. So I think this, if you can help them with some timelines as to when they'll finish the different sections, I think that's very helpful. Also, we need documentation of projected cost or expenditures, and that would even include books or lab fees if they're working on college coursework. And then if they have received funding from us in the past, we need to see a current grade report that shows successful completion of that work. And then if the CDA applicants, we need to make sure that we have a copy of their high school diploma. If they have not submitted that in the past, we try to get those uploaded. So if we do not have that in their file, we need you to send that in, as well as any college coursework that they might have completed prior. For degree-seeking applicants, we also need a current plan of study that's signed by their academic advisor, and that will have each semester what coursework they will be working on. And one last final thing, we need documentation that they have applied for FAFSA. Since we are using federal funds, those FAFSA funds must be used first, whatever they would qualify for, and then our funds apply second. So you just send all those documents in an email to your quality assurance coordinator or to Pam Kabrick if you're a tier 3. I'm sorry, you wouldn't be requesting this to be tier 3. So either Jennifer Layton Floyd or me. So here's just the details of how do you do that. So we will retain funds also for primary caregivers. So if a family would decide that they would like for their FPA to maybe work with children and they want to get a CDA, we also have a form for that. So they would use the same CDA form 8030B. There are a few agreements we would want for that to happen. We would like a letter from your site stating that you do intent to hire this candidate. So we want to just make sure that they understand that they will be working with preschool children or infant and toddlers. And also we want documentation if they want to do their CDA either through Penn Valley or if they're working on it through online with TFC or CARE courses. So we just want to track their successful completion too, just like we do other staff members quarterly to see that they're making progress. Okay, and then this is the tab 7 that's part of your document that you're going to be working on. So you can just indicate what type of thing that they're working on, where they are in the process of the CDA, or are they working on an associate's or a bachelor's or the FDC. So you might consider how long it will take that staff member. Are they just beginning online? Or are they ready to be observed? So just figure out how long in this process, which stages will they have during this program year, and figuring out your cost. Oh, it's the same one. Okay.
Okay, so I think the only question we have on here is regarding support for substitutes on training that happens during the work week. And this would be for tier 1 and tier 2 programs. And I want to think about this a little bit because you all do have, as I said, you get some specific training dollars that are discretionary dollars that can be used for anything that you need. And then we have MARC training dollars to support folks in registration and training costs for the majority of the things that are requirements. And there's for each classroom, there's $500 per classroom, and then there's $500 per home visitor. If that is not enough to cover your costs for substitutes for staff to participate in training during the work week, we can have individual conversations about that. What I'm thinking about doing is trying to gauge the need and the cost. And so between now and the time that we send this document out to you, I may add something on to the Tier 1 and Tier 2 document that allows you to indicate how much of the budget that we're providing for you you feel like you would need to request to support costs for substitutes. And then I need to think about how we could do that, because the tricky thing with that is that it's difficult for us to pay your substitute costs to pay individuals, but we may be able to reimburse you for those costs if you pay for the costs and then include those as in your invoice. I don't know. I have to think about it a little bit more, but sorry, that's not a very definitive answer, but I'll work on that one. Do we have any other folks who have any other questions?
I wanted to talk just a little bit about on the training list when it says TBD, to be determined. We're looking for partners to host those. So Leanne tried to schedule these on some of the PD days that you made us aware of. So if you would be interested in hosting the training, can you let us know about that? So if it says to be determined, we are looking for a location to host that training.
No, that's
Okay, I thought she changed them too.
okay. I think that's everything, guys. And I will have, what does that say? I will have 1,000 when we go to fill it out. I missed the discussion on number 1 and 2. I'm not sure. Katie, say more about what you mean by you will have 1,000 when you go to fill it out.
2 classrooms, so $1,000.
Oh, okay, I get it. Well, you're going to have 3 classrooms next year, so you'll have $500 per classroom. And then in addition to that, you're going to have a budget that's specific for your training plan. The dollars that you are getting with your contract per classroom, those are discretionary dollars, and they aren't connected to this training plan. The training plan dollars and the amount that you're going to have for that budget. 1,000 questions. Okay. Okay. If you have 1,000 questions when you're filling this out, you just call me. We would like to have the form back by June 1st, if at all possible. If you're running into trouble, let me know, but it will just help me have a better idea of where we stand budget-wise. And hopefully, if I have if some folks have bigger needs than others or less needs, it will help me in putting together our larger budget. Hi, Carrie. First for all tiers. No, July 1st. Sorry about that, Patty. July 1st for Tier 3. Did you say that the new template is coming out tomorrow? Yes, it is coming tomorrow.
And we'll send a copy of the PowerPoint, and also we're recording this, so we'll send a link of this also.
Yes, and I can't remember what my calendar looks like tomorrow, but you are sure welcome to call me with any questions as you start filling this out. You're welcome, Patty. Ellen Brewer is talking. We can't hear her. Maybe we just need to elevate her. Ellen, are you there?
I'm here, but I wasn't talking, so I don't know what you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
All right. Thank you,
Okay,
everyone.
everybody. Feel free to call me. We appreciate your participation. Sorry, this is kind of a rookie performance on my part. Bye.